Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Metallum Resources Live Investment Summit today, hosted by Six. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker for today, President, CEO, and Director Kerem Usenmez. Kerem will walk us through a company presentation, and then we will be accepting questions live. So remember, you can submit your questions at any time on the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of the screen, and we'll get to them after the presentation. And as always, this event is being recorded and will be available to watch afterwards on Six.com. So without any further ado, I will hand it over to you, Kerem.
Thank you for tuning in today and attending our webinar. Metallum is a zinc and copper-focused exploration and development company listed on the TSX under the ticker MZN, with our main asset, Superior Zinc and Copper Project in Ontario. I strongly urge you to read the cautionary notes the cautionary notes, as this presentation might include some forward-looking statements. Our flagship project is a near-term production polymetallic zinc and copper-rich Superior project with one of the highest grade zinc and copper resources, located near Thunder Bay, Ontario, and 20 kilometers off of main Trans-Canada Highway. We acquired this asset recently from Superior Lake Resources, an Australian-listed company, in April this year. This project is an advanced project with a history of very high recoveries and very profitable production rates. Superior Lake did a JORC compliance, an Australian standards compliance, bankable feasibility study in 2009. Since the acquisition, we started to convert that study and update the bankable feasibility study into Canadian standards with updated numbers. The final feasibility study is expected to be finalized and published in the second half of June. What is exciting about this project is the CAPEX-heavy infrastructure being already in place with a really good upside exploration potential. So some of the main infrastructure in place are tailings dam with a design capacity to incorporate the remaining ore as it is. And the main shaft, freshwater dam, ventilation shafts, about 16 kilometers of underground development and ramps. This deposit is a typical VMS type of deposit with 2 horizons only identified to date. Usually, the VMS deposits are known to have 2 to 4 main horizons with multiple other lenses. WINSTON Lake, here I'll try to, this zone, sorry for my drawing. WINSTON Lake was one that was discovered first and mostly mined out. There's just under 300,000 tons of ore left around the mine voids. The Pig Lake, the second one, was discovered later, and the development was built into Pig Lake, but they only mined some of the upper Pig. I'll show you in the next slide, and one test stope from the lower Pig zone, which happens to be the higher grade, before shutting the mine down altogether due to low prices at the time. It was around $800 per ton, and we are pushing towards $3,100 per ton these days with the zinc prices. Plus the copper is also doing very well. So the main mineral we're looking at here on these, oops, sorry, wrong drawing, is sphalerite. It's the area is highly metamorphosed but not structurally complex. So we're looking at typical VMS lenses that pinch and swell, but it's also on an echelon which is parallel and down dip or along strike. So that's the main mineral we're looking at, sphalerite. So when I said they shut down, they mined almost 10 years between 1988 and 1999. EMET mined most of the WINSTON Lake deposit, roughly around 3.3 million tons at 14% zinc and 1% copper with some precious metals. And they they mined, like I mentioned before, lower peak zone for 5,000 tons, that's averaging at around 16% zinc. The mine closed in 1999 due to low prices. No drilling in the last 20 years, other than a couple of holes and 3 wedges from one hole, totaling around 1,800 meters that Superior, the previous owners, did in 2018. Superior did also a lot of geophysics, VTAM, borehole EM, and time domain electromagnetics, and subsurface sampling, identifying multiple targets, as well as confirming the high-grade nature of this deposit. And then Metallum acquired the project at the beginning of April, and we are drilling already. So that is an interesting slide that I want to talk about, because this shows how much exploration was done in terms of drilling. So the blue colors, the light blue as well as the dark blue colors, shows the amount of drilling that was done to identify WINSTON. And the red one shows the drilling that was done to identify Pig Lake. So there's just over 1,800 surface and underground holes were drilled in total, but only 247 were drilled into Pig Lake. So Pig Lake still remains open for expansion, as it is, apart from the already identified targets that, just to put that into perspective, in Flin Flon, they drilled about 8,000 drill holes to come up with 35 million tons. So just in the next couple of slides, including this one, I want to show you how they sit in relation to each other, and what is mined and what is known resources, as well as a couple of potential targets. So the green colors on the left picture image, it shows the mined out stopes. The red zones show the already identified and included resources. So the known resource right now are those red colored zones. The gray zones are the immediate targets that we are targeting with some really high potential. So this Pig Lake, those gray zones have never been drilled. Only a few holes around the lower Pig zone was drilled, and we will be conducting more exploration, including some borehole geophysics in those. So what, as you can see, WINSTON was mined out, and what is remaining is only 10% zinc and under 1% copper, and the most of the resource is on the Pig side here. In the next slide, I'll show you a little bit more. So when I say more high-grade zone is on the Pig side, is on the top left corner of this slide, you can see the grades, incredibly high zinc and really good copper grades as well. So it comes down to around 1.8 million tons at 19% zinc and 1% copper on the Pig zone alone. And it's open for exploration, which is very exciting to see for us. So other than these two horizons, WINSTON and Pig horizons, we have identified satellite lenses. Here, I'll try to circle. Bear with me for my drawing abilities a little bit. So I'm just gonna put a circle here. So the brown area here shows the Pig Lake horizon, and then there is Anderson showing on surface right here. The Anderson showing has very promising geophysics data as well as surface sampling, which happens to be the interpretation of Pig horizon on surface. But we are also, so this is WINSTON horizon. Oops, this didn't work well. I'll try to, so this is where WINSTON is, and this is another immediate target we're going to do, trail, and then there's Sigland here. So these are the main targets we will be we will be focusing in the next little while after trying to increase Pick Lake as it is. But these are the most promising ones as already identified targets. However, not much exploration done in and around the property other than geophysics. So you can see on the right-hand side as well that there are multiple geophysics anomalies, even in the north side, which is not even our immediate focus at this time. But all the indicators, we are looking at all aspects of geology, including alteration, lithochemistry, geophysics. We're combining it all, structural geology. It indicates that all the indicators are there for more, basically. So our updated 43-101 resources were published in January this year. You can see how high of a zinc grade this project has in average. And we looked at some of the borehole intercepts going up to 30, even 40% zinc. But this is the average for the resource that was calculated and updated recently. If we think in terms of gold equivalent, this deposit represents about 800,000 ounces of gold equivalent at a grade of 10.6 grams per ton equivalent. This is extremely high grade in Canada, regardless of the commodity. And I want to show you some of the historic recoveries, because recoveries are also exceptionally high. So the bottom chart shows the historic production data, but the top one shows recent metallurgical studies that were done by the previous owner, Superior Lake. The Inmet plant processed approximately 3.3 million tons over a 9-year period, producing 900 million pounds of zinc, 53 million pounds of copper, and over 50,000 ounces of gold at reported recoveries of 93% zinc and almost 80% copper. This is in today's numbers about $1.2 billion worth of zinc, $250 million worth of copper, about $100 million worth of gold, and say $30 million worth of silver over its 9-year mine life. So it's like, even if we take this as a guide, and like, it's still, what is left is incredibly, incredibly high. So when compared to other zinc projects, Pick Lake has the highest grade by a good margin. That's the bottom line, and grade is king. But the known resources are currently, low. However, the potential is incredible because because of all the stuff that I talked about. But only 2 horizons were known to date. There's already identified high probable targets, as well as all the indicators in terms of geology and structure to show the potential to increase this. So our short-term ongoing resource expansion and exploration success are immediate plans as Superior Project remains open for expansion. We are currently drilling outside of the known resource. Since we acquired in April, we already started drilling. We expect to publish the Canadian standards feasibility study by the end of this month, and we're looking at doing further exploration to expand the resources even further while we are moving forward to opening the mine. So our capital structure, we are well funded to support our current plans, the drilling and the administrative plans. We have Sprott's support, as well as management has invested in this, including myself. We believe in Metallum, our project, our main project, and zinc and copper. The previous owners, as it was a share-based transaction, their shares are held currently in escrow, as per the schedule here, over a three-year period. So when we look at our evaluation to resources, our enterprise value to resources, very favorable and low valuation, in fact, compared to our peers in the space. The upside potential is huge, as we have one of the highest grade underexplored zinc and copper deposits in the world, in one of the safest jurisdictions, at the bottom of development rise on Lassonde curve. So I want to talk to you about a little bit about our management, as well as our board and the advisory team. We have incredibly experienced management and board of directors. Our team has discovered deposits, taken them to production in multiple occasions. We've, as a team, done it in North America, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and I think a great testament to that is that big names such as Sprott are our main shareholders. We assembled a leading technical team specialized in finding and growing this type of deposits, but also building zinc and copper mines. In our board and advisory board, we also have a team of seasoned geologists, mining engineers, including Mark Cruz and David Lane, to name a few. So why zinc now? I mean, copper and zinc, obviously, we know are going to be the main. I mean, there are numerous reasons to be bullish on copper and zinc, as they're the drivers of green economy. Zinc has figured out how to store energy safely and effectively. Even just alone yesterday, I think I was reading the university, I think this Hanyang University from South Korea, came into news that they announced that they developed a new type of zinc air cell that performs superior compared to lithium-ion batteries, 100% charging capability within 15 minutes, providing about 900 miles per charge on a vehicle. Which could be a game changer. I mean, Buffalo is implementing zinc air battery storage for their energy needs. I mean, but also there's the global stimulus to come out of what we are in, what we are all experiencing around the world, is going to need a lot of copper as well as zinc, apart from the green economy that it's going to be fueling. So zinc is already, the price is going up, and I think it's here to stay. The upside potential for zinc price as well as copper, not just the demand, but all these necessary infrastructure that needs to happen in the next little while. We're looking at probably 3 to 5 years. So why Metallum? I mean, we have a great team to do this, and we have enormous potential with this project. It's near-term production, and it remains for expansion. Our burn rate is very low. We share some of the administrative costs within the group of our companies, so that gives us the advantage. So that's about it. Thank you for tuning in, and watch for updates and ask the results.
Great, thank you so much, Kerem. We're going to jump right into the live Q&A. So if you do have a question, please submit it now. But we're going to kick off with a few questions that were emailed in before. Is Metallum interested in building a mine or more interested in a takeover?
Well, our main focus is definitely to build the mine as soon as possible, while we conduct further exploration and expand resources. That's definitely our focus at this point.
Great, thank you. And how many meters do you have planned for this year, and any plans to add more drills?
Our current drilling program that is underway is just our phase one drilling program that we're going after the already identified targets to expand the resources in a short amount of time. So we plan for 2,000 meters as part of phase one exploration, among other activities. We're looking to drill more later in the fall onwards, depending on the results from this program, obviously. And as we look more into the data we have and we're currently doing field work also So listen, there are so many targets, but we need to be strategic and focus on the closest proximity targets to peak horizon as we move forward to open the mine.
Absolutely. So how is the relationship with First Nations in the area? Are there any local concerns that might stop you to continue the exploration?
That's a great question. We started off well with the local First Nations and the local communities in the area. Listen, we believe in transparent and open communication with all of our stakeholders. For example, we are proactively utilizing local and First Nation businesses. Our current drilling contractor is a First Nations owned and operated drilling company, and we are working with another First Nations affiliated surveying contractor, as well as there's a local First Nations person that does the water monitoring, and we are supporting her in every way possible.
That's great, thank you. Michael has a question. He asks, are the old workings immediately accessible, or is everything flooded and in need of rehabilitation?
That's a good question. Yeah, they're all flooded right now. My background is rock mechanics engineering, so I'm a geological engineer with masters in ground stabilization and improvements. So that was one of the first things I looked into. How good are the rocks? Is there any dilution issues or slowing the advancements, or how difficult is it to support the ground? How expensive? That sort of stuff. The rock quality is very good. So, but the mine is currently flooded. So we don't expect any major ground problems. Obviously, we will have to make sure and rehabilitate as much as possible. But on the WINSTON Lake side, there were some dilution, not a lot, very little compared to this size of a mine. When they encountered chert-related alteration, that was on the WINSTON Lake side, which is slightly flatter than Pick Lake. But Pick Lake doesn't have that. Pick Lake doesn't have that type of hanging wall, so we don't expect much dilution. Certainly not as much as they would have in WINSTON, which was already pretty low.
Great, thank you. Another question here: how deep does the geophysical interpretation extend?
That's a very good question. So there are different waves. There's a few 100-meter one that we're looking at, but there were historic borehole geophysics data that we are also interpreting, and we are currently reviewing and putting more geophysics data into our radar that helps us identify. There's absolutely no shortage of data, historic as well as recent geophysics. Yeah, there's a lot of geophysical data from underground as well as from surface. However, we are looking at doing more borehole geophysics with the boreholes that we're drilling, as well as surface, to fine-tune some of the data before we initiate further drilling. That's probably why we're looking at. That's part of the reason why we're looking at drilling more in the fall onwards. Got
it. All right, thank you. Michael's asking, how soon is near-term production?
That's a great question as well. So, we are waiting for the final feasibility study, but all the indicators are there that it would take. Listen, we're waiting for a couple of permits as well, like the dewatering permit. We are already in the queue, so that should happen by the end of this year, and we're looking at dewatering the first quarter of the new year. Okay, if everything goes according to the plan, which we don't expect anything major, hopefully, knock on wood. But so we're looking at, depending on how we open the mine, because there's a couple of options that we will be looking at. We are probably 15 to 20 months away from production.
All right, great. So, Kerem, what do you see as the future price trend for zinc?
Yeah, so we touched the base a little bit on that. Zinc is, I think, here to stay because, like they fuel both copper and zinc. not only will fuel the green economy, it will also, I mean, zinc is the fourth biggest or widely used metal. It strengthens and prolongs the life of steel. And steel is everywhere, right? From cars to bridges to any type of infrastructure building. And United States, not only United States, we're talking Europe, we're talking Africa, South America, Asia. Everybody is planning a big stimulus to rejuvenate the economy. And what does it need? All kinds of base metals, but zinc will be the shining one. No pun intended, but yeah.
All right, thank you. Bayar is asking, what agile AI resource confirmation tools is Metallum using for its drilling program?
Like AI, did you say? Sorry.
Yeah, AI, agile/AI.
Yeah. Currently, we are using Crux Analytics to monitor the progress of our drilling on a shift by shift basis. We have some in borehole tools as well to help us with the target monitoring. You know how far we are. Like our first hole was a deep one, for example, and I manage the drilling company, so I have a little bit of that background also. So we were working very well with our drilling contractor, and they did a fantastic job to hitting the target where we wanted it to go. And we did that very well. In terms of software, we are constantly evaluating and doing that, what we get from the field on a daily basis. So, and AI-wise, we're not fully trusting the computer to do the work yet. I believe we're not there yet, but maybe something we will be looking at. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Which target is most interesting at the Winston Pick Lake project?
Yeah, so let me go back on the slide where it shows. Oops, I forgot to erase these, but that becomes relative now. So there are so many targets, honestly, in this whole area. So this shows on the right-hand side, you see our package for this property. We have other packages in the vicinity, in the regional scale, but this is our immediate focus. So our immediate focus is in and around Pick Lake. Pick Lake is still not fully understood, and since Winston has been mined out and known pretty well, our focus is Pick Lake in and around it. What is interesting is that this area, you see Anderson showing on the top here. This is very promising. But what is interesting is this area, has never been drilled. Between Anderson and Pick Lake zone has never been drilled. So that's one of our areas that we are targeting. But also, in the Pick zone, right on here, bear with me. The middle section, we are already talking about this one. Sorry, I'm not an artist, so here. But there's also, as you can see on this side, the middle section, there's not a lot of drill holes here. I don't see any. So we will be targeting these areas, like we are actually right now. But after that, what we will be looking at here is the other ones that I marked on the left-hand side here. Those are this year's plans. Basically, this is our main targets for this year. These are our main targets for this year.
Perfect. Thank you. Do you expect any milling or processing complexities with the ore? Yeah,
that's a good question. Actually, we discussed that with our technical advisory, that was one of the first things Mark actually pointed out, which is a great point to look at very early stage. We looked into based on historic production as well as recent metallurgical studies. It is expected that the project will produce high-quality concentrates and free of deleterious elements with low impurities of critical elements such as arsenic, antimony, and mercury. The main problem they actually had during the processing was that the zinc grades were too high to process at times. They needed to dilute it so that the plant could handle it. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem. But we will be looking at more advanced processing to avoid that. I mean, we're looking at, it's not too long ago, and it's still the 90s, but processing has come a long way. Like, you can do a lot even underground before you take it to surface. And that's one of the first things we will be looking at, I think, evaluating. We have a good team of engineers working on that with us, local from Thunder Bay. Nordman, that was part of the Nordman Engineering, that was part of the bankable feasibility study that was done. They have some good solutions regarding that, which will help with processing, as well as with the potential, water treatment on surface. So, yeah.
Great. How green is the copper from an ESG standpoint?
Listen, copper and zinc will fuel green economy, as I mentioned before. Zinc has figured out to store the energy safely and effectively. But copper is needed on every aspect of green economy. Transferring the energy from the source to usage areas. It's the best conductor. It's needed everywhere. It's on our phones, on our every plant that is going to be producing and storage. So it is actually the paramount of green energy.
So talking about ESG, what accountabilities has Metallum set for ESG related performance?
Yeah, ESG has been our focus. From the get-go, without protecting the environment, social impacts, and sustainable operations, we just cannot move forward. That management and board is aware of that and believe that it's a fundamental part of who we are and how we operate. We recognize if it's done properly, the results will become better outcome for all stakeholders. So we're taking every step ESG in mind.
Great. So are you going to print more shares this year?
It's too early to say at this point, but that is always on the table for sure. We will have to see the catalysts later this month. The feasibility study that I mentioned should be published later this month, and the current drilling program's outcome before I can say for sure how much or when we will need to raise in what way.
Got it. All right. And lastly, do you expect any ground-related problems after dewatering or during operation?
Yeah, we touched this again a little bit, but we don't really, to be honest. The ground, the rock quality is very good. And the hanging wall dilution, we don't expect much if we can do the good controlled blasting and mining steps, which we have a great team to plan for that. So yeah, we don't see any ground issues other than hopefully minor rehabilitation. It hasn't been that long compared to other old mines. So yeah. We will have to evaluate, but I don't expect anything at all.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kerem. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you for taking us through your presentation and the Q&A session. I also want to thank everyone who joined us today and submitted great questions. If you if you think of a question after the summit, we will be sending out a brief survey, and the Metallum Resources team will be happy to follow up with you directly. You can also find more information on their website at metallumzinc.com. And I'll pass it back to you, Kerem, just for the final word before we close out.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. And please watch for updates and the assay results in the next little while. And also, please subscribe to our mailing list to be on top of our news, and to our website, metallumzinc.com.